All right, let's just jump right in. For decades, I think we can all agree our education system has basically been a sorting mechanism, right? It puts students into different boxes. But what happens when the language of that sorting system gets a total makeover? But the underlying logic, the actual machinery of it all, stays exactly the same. Well, that's what we're going to unpack today. This idea of a new, much friendlier sounding taxonomy of educational sorting. I mean, back in the day, it was just blunt, almost brutal. A guidance counselor could literally look a student in the eye and say, "You're not college material." Super harsh, yeah? But at least it was clear. You knew where you stood. But fast forward to today, and that same student hears something totally different. "You have so much potential." Now, that sounds great, right? It sounds encouraging, empowering even. But is it really? Or is it just a nicer way of putting you in the same old box? And that right there is the whole point. This isn't some big story about how our education system had this huge, fundamental change of heart. Nope. This is a story about a rebrand. It's a marketing campaign. The labels we stick on students are new, they're shinier, they sound way more equitable. But the assumptions, the ones actually driving the whole sorting machine, yeah, those haven't budged an inch. So let's really dig into this new language. I mean, how on earth did these wonderful positive words like potential and opportunity, how did they become the new tools for, well, sorting kids, for steering them down these very specific and maybe even predetermined paths? Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about the words themselves, it's about how they're used. This whole vocabulary of opportunity, potential, transformation, you deserve this, it's laser focused. It's aimed specifically at bright students, often from low-income backgrounds. And the message, whether it's spoken or not, is crystal clear. The only way for you to unlock all that amazing potential is to go get a 4-year university degree, period. And at the exact same time, while one path is getting showered with all this glowing, aspirational language, the other path is just left out in the cold. We're talking about technical education, the skilled trades, hands-on careers. They're still treated like the fallback option, the consolation prize. It's seen as the path for students who, and I'm putting this in quotes, couldn't handle the so-called real academics. So this gets us to a really fascinating and honestly a pretty troubling part of this whole new system. On the surface, it looks great. It presents itself as this incredible force for equity, a real equalizer. But underneath that mask, well, that's where you find some very old prejudices and a sales pitch that's missing some pretty important pages. This metaphor is just perfect. Seriously, think about it. When has a timeshare salesperson ever led with the annual maintenance fees or the terrible resale value? Never. They sell you the dream, right? The endless sunsets, the cocktails by the pool. Well, in many ways, college recruiters are doing the same thing. They're not always selling the full, unvarnished truth of what they're offering. So if they're not selling the whole picture, what are they selling? Because it's definitely not just an education. Oh no, it's way bigger than that. They're selling an idea, an identity, a complete life transformation, all wrapped up with a bow. What they're selling are these big, beautiful, abstract promises. The promise of a total life transformation, the picture-perfect images of an idyllic campus life, that vague but incredibly powerful idea that this is the place where your real future finally begins. It hits you right in the feels, it's aspirational, and let's be honest, it works. Okay, but what about the real world? The practical stuff, the numbers? What's the crucial information that's almost always missing from that glossy brochure? Right, the hard questions, the ones that aren't so fun to talk about. Like, what are the actual employment outcomes for someone with this specific degree from this specific school? What's the average debt-to-income ratio going to look like when I graduate? What can I realistically expect my starting salary to be? I mean, this is the stuff students and families desperately need to know, but it's so often buried in the fine print, if it's there at all. And this is how the new system gets to wear that mask of equity so comfortably. It gets to pat itself on the back and say, look at what a great job we're doing. We're all about social mobility. We're sending smart kids from tough backgrounds to college. It looks and feels like progress. But it's a progress that might just be papering over the cracks of the same old foundation. And that massive gap, the one between the promise and the reality, well, it creates this huge system-wide problem. You could call it the perfect misalignment. We're pushing kids down paths that don't always lead where we or they think they will. So it boils down to this. On the one hand, you have the university path.
It's heavily marketed, it's seen as the gold standard, but it often leads to degrees that don't quite match what the job market is looking for, and it comes with a mortgage-sized pile of debt. And then, on the other hand, you've got the technical path. It's filled with opportunities for strong, stable, high-skill careers, but it's starved for attention, for investment, and it's still looked down upon.
You know, sometimes the best way to really understand the hidden rules of a system is to poke it, to challenge it. And this next story I want to share, it's a real anecdote. It does exactly that. It's like pulling back the curtain and seeing how the machine really works, all thanks to one short, incredibly revealing conversation. So the setup is pretty straightforward. Someone suggests that a really high-achieving student, a top performer, might be a perfect fit for an excellent engineering technology program at a local community college. Seems totally reasonable, right? Matching a smart kid with a great high-skill opportunity. But the reaction they got was, well, it was anything but reasonable. It wasn't just, oh, I disagree, or, I'm not sure about that. No. The reaction was described as something close to horror. And when you get a reaction that extreme, that visceral, you know you've just bumped into a sacred, deeply held belief. And boom, there it is, the belief, right out in the open. The director says, but those students are headed for university. Just listen to that wording. It's not a choice they get to make. It's a destination they are headed for. It implies that for those students, the good ones, there is one and only one acceptable path. And the person telling the story puts it perfectly. To this director, suggesting a high-tech engineering program for a top student was basically the same as suggesting we send a national merit scholar off to truck driving school. That's how absurd it sounded to her. And that tells you everything you need to know about the deep-seated prejudice we still have against the skilled trade. But then came the knockout punch, the line that laid it all bare. After it was explained that, hey, these students actually want these hands-on, high-skill careers, the director just looked completely confused and said, but they're capable of so much more. There it is. That's the entire mythology, the whole belief system captured in one single sentence. The unspoken assumption that more can only ever mean one thing: a bachelor's degree from a four-year university. Anything else, no matter how advanced, how skilled, how in demand, or how lucrative, is automatically, by definition, less.
So that one little story, it doesn't just tell a story. It names the whole game. It exposes the unspoken hierarchy that's running in the background. So let's actually put it up on the screen and look at it.
So in this worldview, it's not a buffet of different, equally good choices. Not at all. It is a ladder, a clear, rigid hierarchy. The university path sits right at the top. It's seen as worthy, prestigious, valuable. And by default, that means technical education is at the bottom. It's not just a different choice. In this mindset, it is an inherently lesser choice. And all of this leaves us with one last big question. I mean, look around. We live in a world of incredible technology, of advanced manufacturing, of high-tech systems that didn't exist 20 years ago. The tools have changed completely. But have our beliefs? Sure, computers might have replaced carburetors, but has the internal logic of our educational sorting system ever really gotten an update?